TerraMine just might be my favorite new app, and I have a lot for you in this one. I've been using TerraMine for about a month now, and I have a lot to say, so let's just start with the updates. And I put the stats up here real quick if you want to see how much you'll earn with your check-ins. You get an extra boost at 3 check-ins, 5 check-ins, at 10 check-ins, but none of that is new news. What the new news is, and just a quality of life change, you can see where you've checked in. You see those little flags. That means that, I have 13 mines here. I do try to get at least 10 a day. But once I start getting low on these mines, I start to have to find them. Before these flags came in, I'd have to find them. Just a little annoying. Now I don't have to find them. I know which ones I've done, and I can check in that much easier. And while we're on the topic of check-ins, it's important to note that these rewards are boosted. And you can see that you get 4 free boosts a day. And that gives you 2 hours of free boosts. And the max is 8 hours. And the point of this is if you watch all of your ads, but then let it get below an hour and 30 minutes, you're never going to be able to make that up until the next day. Meaning once you get below 2 hours and 30 minutes, you better start boosting right then if you want to keep it at 8 hours. And I know for me, the most important time to have 8 hours is when I go to bed, just to make sure I have it boosted as much as possible. And that's what I'm doing, so I figured it was a good enough tip to share with y'all. The next little quality of life improvement is the labels tab. So you can toggle this on and off, and this will get rid of your street numbers and names as well as all their points of interest. And I know when I'm buying plots, sometimes, especially at a restaurant, if it has the point of interest, I can't actually click on it and I have to zoom in or actually click the labels tab to be able to buy the plot. So it makes it a little more convenient. And it's obviously not a major improvement, but any improvement at all, I'm happy with. And in my early review video, I didn't have a diamond mine, so I wasn't able to do a diamond mine tutorial. But that's not really the point of this. There's been a lot of updates to these minigames. I've seen people gain tons of TB. You can see it's really easy game. So for the coal mining game, it's down from 15 to 5. And overall, you can only go to level 100 per game. And after you hit game level 100 in one of your mines, it will no longer give you rewards. They've been doing balance testing. There's been a lot of TB given out, especially in that coal mine I was talking about earlier. And, they have to balance how much they're going to be able to pay out to players, how much they're getting from ads. And, this is just going to be a process. We have to expect it. And as far as withdrawals go, they're still waiting on authorization from PayPal. You can input your number, so when it does go live, you're good to go. And I know a lot of people are waiting for this, but remember, this app is really new, and this is just something that we're going to have to deal with. Kind of similar to what I was saying about their mini games and how they're balancing out giving TB and rewards. And of course, as soon as withdrawals come out, I'll make a tutorial as soon as possible. And since we were talking about withdrawals, I think an important thing to talk about is property and activity. And I'm just going to read directly from their website. So each virtual property or Terra acre you own is tracked independently for activity. Property inactivity is measured from the date of last activity on that specific property, regardless of your overall account activity. You may have an active account while individual properties are considered inactive. Property activity includes any of the following actions performed on or associated with a specific Terra acre. Performing a daily mine maintenance activity on that property, playing a mine game associated with that property, a check-in by you or another player at that property, any other interaction that updates the property's last active timestamp, and the following enforcement timeline applies to each individual property. And the timeline for this is at 5 months, a first warning is issued for that property. You will be notified if that property's passive earnings are at a risk of being paused if that activity does not resume within 30 days. 6 months, passive earnings for that property are paused. The property remains yours but is no longer generating USD earnings until activity resumes. Resuming any qualifying activity on that property will restore any earnings. 6 months, passive earnings for the property are paused. The property remains yours, but it will no longer generate passive USD earnings until activity resumes. Resuming any qualifying activity on the property will restore earnings. 11 months, a final warning is issued. You will be notified that the property is at risk of permanent forfeiture if activity does not resume within 30 days. And then at 12 months, the property may be permanently forfeited and returned to the unclaimed pool, making it available for other players to purchase. Any upgrades, resources, or game progress associated with the property may be lost. And really, for people who don't have a lot of properties, this won't be very hard. But for people who have thousands, it's going to take a little bit of work just to keep those available. Which also means putting plots in places that people check in, so you don't have to deal with it, is pretty important too. Next, I want to go over referral changes. So before the update, if you put in somebody's code and you wanted the extra 1,000 TerraBucks, all you had to do was buy a Terra Acre, close the app, and reopen the app. But to prevent people from getting referrals from people who have no intention of playing the game or fake referrals in general, they added a couple steps until you actually receive your referral rewards. So the same things happen, you buy your first TerraMine, but then you have to check in another day and do a check-in, do a mini game, and at that point you'll both receive 1,000 TB. Shouldn't be too hard. If you have a friend who's even casual, just have them play a mini game and, check in every once in a while, you'll get it eventually. And I just want to give a big thanks to everybody who's used my code. I hope these videos have made it worth it. Referrals have given me 970 plus so far, which is huge. It's just so greatly appreciated. Next, I wanted to give you guys a quick tip. Have you ever been walking somewhere and your cursor isn't following you? And I'm trying to buy a property that's next to me. I should be able to buy this. Well, my cursor's up there. Well, if I click a property next to it, click purchase property, it'll sync me right up and I can buy it right away. Hope this helps. Next, I just want to give you a quick look at my account. I have 1,043 total properties. I earn $3.68 per month without a boost, which I believe is about $73, $74 a month if I'm boosted 24 hours. Usually boosted about 23, but it's pretty close. So let's scroll down real quick. You can see my luck has gotten a little better since last time. My golds are a little low, but I do have 9 diamonds instead of 0. Pretty big difference. So the luck is going on my side, still low below average, but can't complain. But compared to some of our top guys, I'm nowhere close. So if you go to the top 10, and I know the top 2 guys are in the TerraMine Discord channel or main community members, but you can see compared to them, I'm nowhere real close. I'm about halfway to being in the top 10, and that's with me getting a good amount of referrals. And I will say that most of these top people have mostly gotten their TB from mini games. I'm more of a check-in person myself. I find it easy. I like putting in the pictures if it's fun. But there are people who really get into the grind. And when looking at this, I kind of want to just break down how much you can earn between 1 mine and 10,000 mines. So I broke it down between daily, monthly, and yearly. And you can see some of these stats get pretty wild. 1 mine, over a year, if you have it boosted the entire time, is 74 cents. Not very much. If you can get yourself up to 10,000, that comes up to 7,431. And if you have 1,000 like me, I'm still getting over 700 over a year, which is pretty nice. And now the question I have to ask myself is, what changes are they going to make for high earners? I know other apps, they'll change their boost rate, but when people are asked if they're going to change the boost rate, they say that's not in the plans. So we're just going to have to see, and if they do make an update, I'll let you know as soon as possible. But there's a lot of stats here. If you want to pause the video and look at them, you can. I'm not going to go over all of them, but I felt like these are relevant. But also just to point out, this is based on my account. I think I'm 1% below average, so it might be a little bit more. And when I do my full review, I'll go with the actual average. I just kind of wanted to show what you'd earn based on my account. But as far as determining whether you need a boost all day, remember this is 44 ads a day. That's quite a bit. So you have to see how many mines you actually have to own until you actually think this is worth it. And for me, with 1,000 mines, my long commutes, I feel like it's worth it. I like gaining the money. I want to be able to show off a pretty big withdrawal when it does happen. And at least for now, if it stays like this, I do have to admit I like gaining the $1 or $2 a month every time I get a referral or I do a bunch of check-ins. And as far as where you put down your plots, there's some theories on the best places to put them, where you're going to get high foot traffic, or places where you're going to sit and eat or sit down or just be for a while. But in my opinion, the number one way to get check-ins is to coordinate through Facebook, your friend group, the Discord community, and then find somebody local and then have them drop a mine for you. You can see that little mine piece that you miss on the very bottom right there. And when I ended up being close to this location, you can see I dropped them a ton of mines. And now they're getting checked into every day. And between that and the visit mine button, you can find people, there's my Terra right there. There's only a 3-minute drive, so I headed over there. And being the team player that I am, I dropped them 10 mines. So if they log in, they have as much as they can check in, give them a free 185 to 225 TB. And doing this with multiple people, I just want to show you the results. You can see this is from just the last 24 hours, all these check-ins I'm getting. Terrified is that one big clump that I just showed you in the beginning. Getting a ton from that. You can see somebody named Old Meddler, that's from my hometown when I go visit my parents. There was somebody close there, I dropped a bunch for him. You can see I'm making purchases there. And you can see I leave people little notes saying, enjoy the mines, etc. There's more from Terrified. Let's see. I think there's more coming up. Bungie, that's another person that I put mines close to. Kayla, that's my girlfriend. And there's Juby Kaz thanking me for checking in earlier. I'm already getting check-ins from a mine I placed earlier today. And really what it comes down to, if you get a mine checked into 100 times, it was essentially free, and anything after that is a bonus, obviously. But check-ins aren't really the only reason you would put plus down. Maybe you like an area, maybe it's important to you, or like my girlfriend and my best friend, you can see we started filling in an entire little walking trail. And the fun thing about this is as we were walking down, we were placing a mine here or there, but we were checking in and taking pictures. Let me show you a couple examples. And at the end of one of those trails, you can see those two mines next to each other. Well, there's a little water tower next to them, so let's click on that. And you can see I even named it Water Tower. So if I click Manage Property, and then scroll down to where it says Visitors Log, and click View Visitor Log, you can see that we got a few cool little water tower pictures. There's the water tower in Walnut Creek, and there's the Larky Reservoir, and more water. And just as an example, as we were doing one of our little walks, we'll click one of the mines, and then click View Visitor Log. And you can see a cute picture of me and my girl. And she doesn't really play video games, but she likes this. It kind of makes it different than most apps. It's not all about the money for everybody. And I know looking back into the future, this is going to be pretty cool, especially if we're still playing this. And while I definitely have my tips for gaining as much check-ins as possible, I care about this just as much, if not more, in my opinion. Kind of my last part about like the more sentimental side of the game is it kind of reminded me of 10 years ago, Pokemon Go, when that first came out, when people were going out and it was fun. You know, obviously that was a much bigger scale and this is still brand new. But it just felt fun going out, you know, checking into mines, buying mines. My buddy was making dumb faces and we were all having a good time. Gave me a little of those vibes, you know, there was that 1 month where it all just kind of came together. And while it definitely will never get that big, it's still something that you could think about and play with your friends and your family and have a good time. And as far as the tier list goes, I still want to wait until withdrawals go out. I do predict this is going to be a very high rated app, but I want to make sure all of that goes smoothly before I make any assumptions. And as soon as the withdrawals come out, I'll probably just make a separate video on the withdrawals and then immediately work on a full review, which will also include the withdrawals as well as an updated tier list. So I'd like to know how you all are liking TerraMine so far. Is it easy gaining TB? Do you think this is going to be big in the future? Let me know in the comments and I'll try to respond to all questions as well as I can. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, the Facebook and Discord communities are really good. The creator of the app is in Discord, and one of the family members runs the Facebook group and answers questions really quickly. It's honestly a really good community and it's worth checking out if you're into this app. And if you like this video, please hit the like button, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And if you aren't playing TerraMine and decide you want to give it a try, I'd appreciate it if you use my referral code. It really does help out the channel. You know, you can see I've been able to put mines all over the place and show off the best ways to earn check-ins, in my opinion. And as always, I appreciate you all for watching, and until next time, I'll see you up in the clouds.